So I have just sat down to do some video editing. My room is not set up for videoing. As you can see, there's mess everywhere, and I realised that I had accidentally deleted the intro to this video. I've just decided to film it now. If you're new to my channel, then hi, my name's Sarah. I'm a doctor in the UK and I make videos about my life. I've been making YouTube videos since probably around the end of medical school, so a lot of you have actually been following me along this journey since I became a doctor. It's around nearly 2 years ago now, and I was thinking the other day about how my life has changed since I became a doctor, but also how I have changed as a person, and I thought it might be quite an interesting topic for a video, so here we are. If you're new to my channel and you like this kind of content, then have a look at my playlists. I've got loads of videos about being a doctor, but also about my lifestyle, and I like making videos about clothing as well. And if you do enjoy this video, then click the thumbs up button down below. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about, something that I've mentioned in lots of my other videos, and that's time management. Now, I think I've always been one of those people who tries to fit in as much as possible into the day and into the week. But I think that since becoming a doctor, my free time has shrunk down to quite minimal, really. I mean, I really don't have a lot of free time, and the free time that I do have, I often have to spend resting and recuperating from shifts and trying to get my mind and body ready for the next set of shifts. But that being said, I think that I have actually become a lot more efficient with my time. I really don't have time to waste, and that means that I am much more focused with what I spend my time and energy on. So I don't sit down and just mindlessly watch TV. I actually choose the programs I want to watch, if I do want to watch TV, or the films I want to watch, and I actively make sure that it's something I want to enjoy. I won't just sit and browse. It also means that I really make an effort to go and see the friends and family that I want to hang out with. I have to make sure that I book those things in advance because of our rotas and the way that our shifts fall. So yeah, I think that is the first and main thing that has changed about me since I started working as a doctor. It's something that I hope will carry through the rest of my life, actually, because I feel like I'm becoming more efficient with my time. Anyway, the rest of this video was filmed a few weeks ago. I hope you enjoy the rest of this video, and I'm gonna finish editing it now so it's ready for you to watch. This is like some kind of weird Inception time warp thing. Anyway, enjoy the video, guys. I've become more empathetic as a person, and I think I was always quite a kind of sensitive and empathetic person anyway, but especially working in the emergency department, it's made me realise how so many people have stuff going on in the background that you don't even know about. When people come in, they're often at their most vulnerable, something really bad's happened to them, otherwise they wouldn't have come into the emergency department, and often at that time where they're feeling vulnerable and low, they kind of open up to doctors and nurses about the things that are going on in their lives. It happens so often, I can't actually believe how many people are going through tough times like bereavement, domestic abuse, or struggling with things like a divorce or a breakup. A lot of the time that isn't the reason they've come in, but that is just something that is happening in their life. It makes me feel so much more forgiving towards people. I realise that when people become snappy or they act in a way that you just don't think is kind of appropriate for the treatment that you've given them, you kind of realise that actually there's a whole host of reasons why they're behaving in that way, and it's not because of what you have said or done, it's because of everything else that's going on in the background. So I just try and be a more gracious and patient person. The other thing I've noticed is that you can never predict how someone's going to react to something. So often as doctors we have to go in and break bad news and tell people things that they don't want to hear, and sometimes you kind of pep yourself up thinking that you're going to go in and someone's going to burst into tears when you tell them a scan result. They don't, they just kind of say, yeah, okay, fine, and then they have a cup of tea and they're not bothered. Other people take things as like life-changing and life-ending, and you don't expect it. Like I had this lady the other day who didn't want to be admitted to hospital. She had cats at home and she didn't know how she was going to get them to be fed. And so when I told her that she had to be admitted, it was almost like this horrible Breaking Bad news scenario, which was like the worst case scenario for her. Whereas you tell other people that they're going to be staying in hospital and they're almost relieved because they know they're going to get treatment. So everyone is different and reacts differently. The reason I'm making this point is because it kind of makes me think that if you change your own perception of a struggle, then it doesn't actually necessarily have to be a struggle anymore. So for example, for me, I was nervous about working so many hours and working such such a busy rota, but I've kind of turned that round. I've changed my perception of it and thinking to myself, wow, I'm really lucky that I get the opportunity to work in the emergency department of a major trauma centre. And I remember back to before I was a medical student and how excited I was at the thought of ever being able to do that. So I try and kind of put myself out of my own body and out of my own mind and look at myself through someone else's eyes and realise, wow, how lucky I am. I read this quote a while ago and it kind of stuck with me, and it was something along the lines of, someone out there would love to have your bad days. I really like that quote because it just reminds me to keep things in perspective and remember all the things that I do have. I think that's quite a useful takeaway to anyone, so I hope that you like that quote as well. And leading on from that, something that I think about a lot is how lucky I am to have had the education that I had. I am not particularly gifted academically. I'm not a particularly confident person. I know that might seem strange because I have a YouTube channel. I think that any confidence that I do have and any academic accolades that I might have all come from the fact that I was really fortunate and I had a really good education. I went to a girls' grammar school, I had amazing teachers, I had an amazing peer group who was very supportive. I quite often think that if I'd been born into another family, or I had been born in a different part of the world where girls don't have access to education like we do, that I wouldn't be living this life. So I try to always make sure I remember that, because it is such a great opportunity and there are people out there who would love to be in the position I'm in. And I know that a lot of you guys are hoping to become medics. So yeah, I try not to take it for granted basically. I think something else that's changed a little bit about me since starting medicine and becoming a doctor is that I'm a bit more outgoing than I used to be. I think my friends and family kind of know me as quite talkative, but I do think that I am a bit of an introvert and that I can be quite shy, especially around new people. Working as a doctor has made me realise that every person is just a person. Everyone's got something interesting about them. Every person that I've met in my work, I've learned something interesting about. I am much more open to just kind of starting conversations with people. Nothing bad's going to happen if you just have a chat. I've also been making a real effort to prioritise rest and relaxation and sleep, and I know that kind of might sound like it doesn't go with the first point I made about making sure that I get enjoy my free time, but enjoying my free time also means feeling relaxed, because what I've realised is that when I was at uni, especially in my first degree, I used to spread myself too thinly and I would fill up my calendar with so much stuff and I would be really tired, and the first thing that I would always sacrifice was sleep. So I was often running on 5 or 6 hours sleep a night, and that was fine when I was at uni. I mean, it wasn't good for my health, but I just kind of got on with it and didn't really think about the detrimental effects I might be having on myself. But now I'm a doctor, I can't go to work tired, and I need to make sure that I am able to think clearly and give the best to my patients. So I really prioritise sleep and rest, and I think that's something that I will hopefully take that into the future with me. And along with that, I have learnt the power of the word no, and saying no to events and things that I might actually want to go to, but having to kind of prioritise rest and relaxation, making sure that I am kind of filled up for my shifts. So unfortunately I do miss out on things, but I know that it's for the best. In order to be a healthy and happy doctor, I need to get sleep.
With the work that I do, I meet so many people who aren't fortunate enough to have bodies that work well and can do the things they want them to do. So I really feel like it's a real privilege to be able to go out running, to do fun exercises, and I think that nourishing my body with healthy and nutritious food is a way of saying thank you to the body that I have. And really, as women, we're pressured to look a certain way. As I'm getting older, I think I'm moving away from that feeling and actually moving towards feeling like I'm so grateful to have a functioning body and I want to nourish it and look after it. And doing lots of fun exercise is actually a way of me being grateful to my body for what it can do. So instead of obsessing about how I look, I try to think about what my body can do and be grateful for that instead.
I feel I kind of owe it to the people that don't have healthy working bodies to use mine and enjoy it while it lasts. I am really learning to deal with criticism, and to develop a strong sense of my own values and to take on board useful, constructive feedback. Everyone has their own opinion of what a good doctor should be, whether that's other doctors, nurses, patients. Everyone has a good idea of what they think a good doctor should be, and I'm guessing that you at home right now have an idea of what you think a good doctor should be. Now for me personally, I think a good doctor is someone who is professional, someone who is caring, empathetic, a good listener, and who is thorough. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that needs to align with what other people might think of as a good doctor. So for example, someone else might think that the best kind of doctor is a really vivacious doctor who leads a team really well, or someone who works really fast and gets the job done super efficiently and sees as many patients as possible. Those things all make sense, but for me, my values are as what I said before. So when someone gives me some feedback, I obviously listen and kind of process that feedback, but I also try and work out whether it aligns with my values of what a good doctor should be, and really try and distinguish between criticism and good feedback. I think there's quite a fine line, because if you took on board all the criticism that we receive day to day, then you'd actually come out of work feeling like this big. And I definitely had days in F1 where I felt like that, where it all just felt like it was too much and that maybe I wasn't doing a very good job. But actually, as time's gone on and I've got a bit more confident in my skills and my abilities and just used to the work, I've got a better filter, and those values that I have, I use as my filter to work out whether or not something is just downright criticism or whether it's something that is useful and that I can learn from and build upon for my next patient encounter. I don't know if that makes sense or if that's just waffle. It makes sense in my head. So on that note, I've also realised that my confidence has grown so much in the last year or so, maybe nearly 2 years now since I've become a doctor. It's not to say I wasn't confident before, but F1, which is first year as a doctor, is so difficult, and you're just kind of finding your feet and really learning how work as a doctor is and what you're supposed to be doing. And what I've learned is I am capable and I am adaptable and I can learn things fairly quickly. I'm building my confidence on that, and it's really nice to be able to look back at these YouTube videos that I've done and kind of see how far I've come. And I think that this will be useful even years from now to look back at videos like this, and probably my thoughts and opinions will have changed a bit in that time. So I'm enjoying having this kind of like video diary to see how far I've come. But yeah, I remember having days in F1 where I felt like I was where I felt like I wasn't coping very well with the stress of work. And I used to go home back to my little doctor's accommodation and think, oh, maybe I'm not very good, maybe that I shouldn't be a doctor, maybe they've hired the wrong person. That real feeling of imposter syndrome. So when I look back at those situations now, I think about them and think that actually I wasn't incapable at that time, and I wasn't underqualified or bad at my job or anything like that, but I was a normal person reacting in a normal way to a totally abnormal set of circumstances. Understaffing, being overworked, working long hours, and that's not to have a dig at the NHS, but that is just the state of how things are. I try and remember that actually if I am feeling overwhelmed, it doesn't mean that I personally am incapable. It means that I am dealing normally with a really difficult set of circumstances, and I try and remember that. Yeah, I just think it makes me feel happier and better, because I realise that we're probably all going through that, and if I just say it out loud to my colleague, they are probably feeling exactly the same. And actually, if we all kind of connect a bit more and talk about these things, then it makes us all a bit happier and able to cope. Again, I don't know if I've just waffled and if that makes any sense, but it makes sense in my head. I quite often think about the doctor I would like to be in the future, and I look at my seniors and I kind of see aspects of different people that I would like to develop more of. One of the things that I really respect is the seniors that have the time and the patience to actually teach on the wards. I know that sounds like a really minor thing, but it's very easy to kind of go about your day and not take the time to explain why you're doing things or talk to your junior members of staff, and I really appreciate the seniors that do that. So I am kind of making a personal effort that if I have people below me, or people, even not people below me, but even people like the nursing staff who have different training from what I have, if they don't quite understand a medical condition, I have a little bit of knowledge that I can explain to them, and just taking the time to do that. The final thing, and I think this is probably the biggest point that I have learned since doing medicine and becoming a doctor, is that friends and family are everything to me. When I'm at work, and when anyone in healthcare is at work, you go into your job and you literally listen to people's complaints and the worst bits of their day all day, and you're taking that all on board. You don't get asked how you are, you don't get asked questions about yourself, and that's exactly how it should be. People come to a doctor to get help. But when you've been doing that for however many hours in a row and however many days in a row, it can be really exhausting. And sometimes I just get home and all I want to do is do the opposite of that. I just want to offload and kind of get stuff off of my chest. So imagine like a builder or someone doing like heavy labour all day. All they want to do is do the exact opposite when they get home. They want to put their feet up, they don't want to lift stuff, they're exhausted and tired. And I feel like the job that I do is almost like emotional labour, that I'm taking on loads of stuff and I just want to come home and talk it out and then not hear anyone's complaints, just relax. So poor Vince, he has to deal with this, and I am so grateful because he has learned a really good mechanism of dealing with this, that if he just like listens to me for the first 15 minutes when I come home and he really kind of gives me that time, then the rest of the evening is dreamy because I've got it off my chest. We can just relax after that. I'm super grateful that he is so thoughtful and caring in that way. All of my friends and family give me so much of themselves. I chat to my mum and my sister at least once a week on the phone, and I love speaking to them. I'm so close with them, and it brings me so much joy to just hear about their days, hear about their lives, and they give me such good advice about life and work. All my other friends and family, they've always been rooting for me when things are going well. Like when I graduated, they all came and we had a big party together, and when things aren't going well, like when I failed an exam in medical school, they all were there to help me pick up the pieces and give me that boost that I needed. So I am super grateful to all my friends and family. I have a couple of really good friends who are doctors, and they are quite a few years ahead of me. I love chatting to them and hearing about their experiences, and they give me all these little nuggets of wisdom of things that I have to come. So I'm super grateful to all of my friends and family, and if you're watching this, then please leave me a comment. It makes me so happy to know that you watch my videos. I love you guys so much, not just to my friends and family that I know in person, but you guys who watch my videos. I'm overwhelmed by the lovely comments that you all leave each other, and what I love is when I start seeing you commenting to each other. It's just such a supportive community, and I am absolutely loving YouTube. I keep making these videos. I wish I could make them more frequently because it brings me so much joy. So I'm extending out a huge hug to all of you to say thank you for bringing me all of this joy and happiness. Also, if you've watched this far into the video, then you're an absolute boss, because this has been however many minutes out of your life. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please give it a thumbs up if you've watched this far. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this video. Would you like to see more sit-down videos? Would you like to see some more vlogs? Let me know and I will try and film something that you find enjoyable. I have really enjoyed this video and I will see you in my next one. Bye!